the routine and off without a fall.
Now, we should mention first performance. 6 are on a team, but the 5 top scorers are the ones that count. Let's take a replay here. One team, by the way, the Marvitines, just has 5 because they have an injured person on the team.
She just had a minor break. If you can look, you would like to see hips perpendicular to the balance beam. And a lot of her problems as she goes through the exercises, she doesn't get what we call in gymnastics quite squared off, straight, true to the beam. So she's picking up little deductions at the end of her skills. That's mostly from being scared, maybe being first up, because she knows her team depends on the psychological start she will be giving it. It's a big responsibility when you're first up. That's a terrific score.
8.90
really, that's
is
a great start for your team. That's wonderful.
Super.
Now, we mentioned starts of teams. Actually, there are lineups. They usually head toward the last 2 are the ones that are going to get it up. But setting the lineup, who's going to go first, can have a big strategical effect, can't it?
When I was Olympic team coach and when we first had to break the international barrier, go out and prove that the United States could count, I used to put my second or third best person up first in order to get the team off to a really good start.
And here is Debbie Tomasi.
Very nice handspring front. This is a difficult vault because the landing is quite blind. You don't get a chance to really spot the mat before you land. You get a lot of jolting sometimes when the gymnasts are learning that skill. She vaulted that very high and landed it very nicely.
She's one of the North Stars.
In fact, one of the things you very often see is when they do look for the mat and see it before they land, it causes them to overturn or to miss the landing. So you have to have the courage not to see the mat.
Debbie Tomasi comes from East Hanover, New Jersey. And she's 16 years old.
Very powerful. You can see she has great strength, good run, very nice vaulter. You can tell that. A real good training in this event.
She's allowed her top score of 2. Uh-oh.
She tried to make it better.
That's right. That's one of those times when you're glad you get a second chance at vaulting.
Absolutely.
She's not going to use the second chance, but at least she had a chance to try to stick the landing.
Well, she's a talented girl. Here's the replay right now.
Is this the first or the second?
This is the second. Yeah.
And we see that she tried to go from her tuck position to a straight position before she landed, because if she could have done that, it would have made her second vault better. But she does it too soon. And sits.
You can see her first vault score was 9.45, and I'm sure that's a great score for her to have. The second vault will be considerably lower than that.
Now we're moving over to the bars. And by the way, with the men, you know, the men's parallel bars are even. They're the same height. But these are the uneven parallel bars, or the uneven bars as they're called for the women. Now, Muriel, I've heard talk that straight arms, not bent elbows, are so vital in scoring high. Can you comment on that?
That's correct. That's right. If you watch her elbows, see at the end of the kip, her elbows bent a little bit to get to the handstand, and see the little elbow bend going to the handstand again, another minor elbow bend. Those are things the judges look for, and what is admired, the epitome of excellence on an even bar work, is being able to swing with a great amount of amplitude and with straight arms.
Now that was Sonja Knapp, 13 years old.
I'd like to say that I have watched this meet now for several years. Sonja is one of the little girls that we should pay a lot of attention to today, because I think she is one of the gymnasts in this competition who is destined for international team membership. I think she's a wonderful gymnast and mature beyond her years.
Watch her execution. I think that's what Muriel's referring to. You see the nice extension of the legs, beautiful toe point, and very nice position, finishing at the end of the move very nicely in complete extension.
And I'd like to add that she is a junior national team member and the first in South Africa Invitational, the youngest ever to win.
That's correct. She was competing against young ladies that were, for the most part, older than 15 years old, and she did it at 12 years old. But what's beautiful about Sonja is that she does not just have the tricks. She has the artistry, which is very often, more recently, been missing in gymnastics.
Yep.
And a great score of 9.35. I know Tom will be excited to see that score.
Tina Littlefield on the balance beam of the Marvitines. This is how she scored going into tonight. Those are discounted right now. We're going into tonight's competition. Each team by team goes around to each of these events, and they rotate. They're called rotations. And at the end, of course, end of the night, the team that has the highest point total becomes the winner, the gymnastics champion, the women's gymnastics champion of the independent clubs. and the independent clubs, 3,000 throughout the United States. So it has become a mushrooming big sport.
It is really the backbone of the national program. Maybe we can use some of what we're seeing now to explain what balance beam is about. The judges look to see that you are down on the surface of the balance beam, that you're up on top of the balance beam as she is now, and in the air. They look for major leaps. That scissors leap can be called a major leap. You must have one of those in your routine. You must have one full turn in your routine. And now she's going to tumble crosswise across the beam. She'll lose a little for the heaviness of the landing, but the skill is greatly admired, so it will do her more good than harm. They like to see beautiful arms, beautiful rhythm. They like to see dynamics leading to softs and rhythm changes. That's a small error. That's at the most 2/10, and I think probably if I was judging, I would maybe only give it a 1/10, or her foot just sort of slipped.
As you may have noted from hearing the experts by my side, judges have to take this in an academic way. I mean, books about every little nuance of this, exactly how much off, how much on. It requires an awful lot of study, I would say.
It certainly does. Unfortunately, with judging, too, it's such a deductive thing. We don't really give them back a lot. We only take things away from their score most of the time. That makes it hard on the gymnasts as they perform. You notice Miriam was saying she made a slight bobble. That's 1 or 2/10 deduction. So we're always looking at deductions. Here's her dismount, which is, again, that Sukahara, which was basically a vault, moved over to the balance beam, and she did it very nicely.
I actually would like to keep on with what you were talking about, Paul. That's why coaches are so important, because we know that athletes can only excel if they are trying to achieve something, not defending against not achieving. And one of the big mistakes that we often see with coaches and athletes is to say, oh, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to make a mistake. You have to go in the meet with the opposite point of view and leave the mistake watching to the judges.
And the score?
8-8 is a very good score on balance beam for, I think, at this point.
Now, next we'll be viewing Robin Fiederline. She's one of the gym cats. So Robin Fiederline is now coming up. There is one other element that we should mention, and that is the dynamic quality, that charisma, that something which excites the crowd Mary Lou Retton had, that Muriel Grossfeld had back when she was an Olympian, that Nadia Comaneci, Bart Connor, Olga Corbett, you know, these special people, Kathy Rigby, that you work with so closely, Muriel, whatever that is, that can help you tremendously. Let's watch now as Robin Fiederline of the Gym Cats.
I think floor exercise is a good place to look to see how good a person can become. Basically, the tumbling category within floor exercise is a good predictor as to how good a gymnast is going to become in the all-around. And here she's starting with her first tumbling pass, and she's proving that someday, even though she fell just now, that she's going to be a good gymnast, because that was a nice high double salto. She just didn't know where she was to land it. A little bit about floor exercise, change of pace, change of feeling, use of the entire floor exercise mat, a complement of both dance movements and acrobatic tricks, but blending into each other so neither is an interruption of the other. The little handstand pirouettes she's doing now, the judges feel are important. That's another difficulty for her, as well as her tumbling. American gymnasts tend to spend more time on little skills, Paul, that perhaps are beautiful, but internationally they don't give you a whole lot of credit. Right here, this is important again.
Oh, nice triple twisting back somersault. That was very nice.
How much do you think the slight crookedness on the landing?
Probably a 1/10 at most, but again, it's the first triple full we've seen in the competition. So,
and listening to you dissect, if I were the parent, I'd move quite far away. Robin, by the way, is the junior champ of the USA in 1985. But go on. I'm listening with great intensity, every little nuance that you have.
Let's go back to triple twist. Triple twist means 3 turns in one axis while you still somersault. Now, that's a double twist. One of the real problems we've had with early triple twists are, will the judges be able to tell it was a triple? And that genuinely still remains a problem because we see so few of them.
I think many times coaches have to tell the judges, make sure you notice my girl is going to do a triple twist here.
Right, because if you're really not looking and you're not paying a whole lot of attention, triples and doubles can look very, very similar.
I think Robin's a very talented young lady, though. She tumbled very high. She presented her routine very nicely, considering she made a rather major error right at the very beginning. It's difficult for young people to
was better than she expected it to be, and therefore she overturned. So her mistake, even in the eyes of the judges, I think they'll consider it a good mistake. Because 8.6 is still very good considering you fell out of the area, too.
Would have been at least 9.1 or 9.2 with the 5/10 and 1/10 for being out of the area.
Right.
Now, we have the privilege of having Joyce Wilborn's mother, Ida, working with us as a booth assistant tonight, and know that her heart is pounding as we look at one of the young greats. Now, Joyce Wilborn, she is of the North Stars, 15 years old.
This is
elite.
incredible.
Watch this. Wow.
All right.
That is definitely Mary Lou Retton caliber of the full twisting Sukahara that time. That was beautifully done.
My personal feeling is that the only person who could beat her might be Mary Lou at her prime.
Yeah.
That straight legs, pointed toes, and such a hard ball.
Look at the power in the run. Beautiful half turn on and the full twisting move through the layout salto. A little trouble on the landing. She'll hope to correct that in her second attempt.
One of the things, the kinds of mats that we use in United States competition provides protection, but it makes it very hard to land. The soft mat helps you if you happen to make a mistake and if you're coming from very high, but it's extremely hard to just land on a dime with the mats as soft as they are. It's sort of like walking on one of those moonwalks. If you've ever gone in there with your children and tried to keep your balance as you were minding them, it's almost impossible. So, and in vaulting, the better vaulter you are, the harder it is to land because you're coming from higher and further and with more momentum. So the poor vaulters can stick, and the good vaulters sometimes pay a big price for being so good.
This is her second attempt. Oh. That many times happened. She tried to come in just a little shorter of the rotation to try to stick the landing, and kind of came in a little bit short. So,
well, this girl has had all sorts of honors. She's on the national team. She's won overseas. Yesterday had a 9.9. Here, little problem at the end.
That's where you can tell the champion, though. She didn't put her hands down. It'd be so easy to touch your hands to the floor. The real champion so doing. Look, at the first vault was 9.8. She need not worry about the second vault at all.
Well, she's one of the young greats, and her ambition right now, the next goal is to make the Goodwill Games. Here we have Mindy Krzinski. Class 1.
Mindy's dad is a co-worker with one of the major judges in our country, so I've known Mindy since she was quite young.
And now she's an elite, 15 years old.
And has had a lot of ankle problems, and I can see they're both taped, so I'm sure that that's still some problem. So far, straight legs, so far, pointed toes, so far the best amplitude we've seen of anybody on bars. That's called a giant swing. It was excellent. They will deduct for the seat hitting, which also threw off her feeling for her dismount, and that's another 5/10 on the landing because her hands went down.
She was a Class 1 last year, now elite. We might just mention, we say elite gymnast, just exactly what that is. That's the international, the world-class gymnast, is that correct?
Right, and they go through a qualification procedure. It is a title and an area that it's earned. It's not just a way to describe somebody who's kind of at the level. They actually earn their elite status. Mindy should not feel so badly. The best uneven bar worker that could have given Julianne McNamara a hard time in the Olympics from Romania put her hands down in the very same dismount and for the very same reason. 8.6, I'm sure, is disappointing, but it's kind of nice to know you can fall down and get an 8.6.
That's exactly
8.6
right.
in school is a pretty good score. That's a nice B.
Well, this is a sport where you have emotional highs and then low, and it's actually staying with it and try to just get the poor performances out of the way because the good ones are going to come. As we look right now at Mimi Goyer from Silver Spring, Maryland, who's 15 years old with the Marvatines.
You know, you were talking about personality that shows through. Her ponytail has energy. I've been watching her warm up, and she has, with the little shoulder shakes, and she has an energy that shines through even when she's standing still. She also, so far, is the cleanest in execution of anybody on beam. She obviously looks to me as if she's had a fair amount of ballet training. Notice how the hips remain square to the beam while the body moves around. The hands are beautiful.
Stay there.
That's going to still be a medium error, so she's still going to lose 3/10. That is gorgeous.
Oh,
the judges
look at this.
To see that we're seeing rhythm for the first time, Paul.
Exactly.
We're seeing daring for the first time, and we're seeing parts looking different from each other. It doesn't look like a run-on. Beautiful leap, beautiful straddle jump, and that's one of the hardest difficulties because she exceeded the split. Again, the body posture is gorgeous, the rhythm. She doesn't look like she's waiting for her next trick. Now do it, go to the next one. This series is required on balance beam. They must have at least one where they do at least 2 skills in a row where it has flight. She just did it beautifully. Notice how much more is in her beam routine than the one